Roger, thanks for dropping by. And the light's not on. Now it is. We're back to these two Phalaenopsis Las Vegas, trade name, it's not a registered name. They're both giving me grief at the moment. They were in the same pot originally, and I'm going to see what I can do. This one is potted too high, but let's just get it out of the pot. These were repotted in a hurry, without giving any form of concentration, and quite honestly these lower roots have just gone. So let's get them off first and foremost. They serve no purpose. I probably left them on during the repotting so that I had something to go in the pot. That was a reasonable root, but it was not being used. You can see the top of the root is completely desiccated, it's only the bottom of the root. So that root was hanging on but not serving any purpose. And once I've taken these dead ones off, I don't think we're going to have a lot left. So it's the same again with this one. If you look at the base there, there's nothing there. So although that looks like a good root, it's not really working, I suspect. So I think what I'm going to do is take the base of the rhizome off. I'm beginning to wonder whether these plants had a problem, and knowing where they came from, I suspect the problem was something like, we'll load the van up tonight because we've got a long journey to do, and leave the plants in the van overnight when it was cold. Now that could have set them back. But there's something not right with these two plants. The other one's just dropped a large leaf, and another lower one's going yellow. This one's dropped all its leaves bar the top two, which we saw last time round. There's another little dead one there, and another little one there. Now if I get these, I'm going to reuse the bark. It's only been in there a short time, there's nothing wrong with it, but obviously I've just cut the dead roots off and let them fall in there. But before I put it back in the pot, I'm actually going to mix the bark with a smaller size. So that's that one. And let's have a look at the other one now. And I hate to do this, but I really do think those spikes are going to have to come off. These leaves are relatively plump. But if you look down inside that sheath, let's get the stakes off. I think the spikes are going to come off anyway. Save the plant, the blooms will come again. I've always said that. And these are attractive blooms. And it would be nice to save the plant. So, but before we start hacking, let's just have a look and see what's going on in the pot. Now again, we've got a similar problem here. From the base of the plant, none of these roots are viable because they've all gone at the base of the plant. It's only these higher up ones that look like they could branch and will hang in there. So we'll do the same again and take the base off with the set of dead roots. And the rest of the dead roots. There aren't too many on this one. This was the better one of the two. But now, more importantly, what I want to do is get these sheaths off, because to me there looks like there's some black on the inside. And if there's stem rot on a monopodial orchid, you've had it really. Yeah. That's rotten. It's just come off. You can see inside there, that's rotten. That could be a consequence of watering it and then leaving it in a cold van. I know what that guy's like. So that one's gone. There's not a lot of point of keeping that, expecting a kiki, when there's only two seedling leaves left on it, one of which is yellowing at the base and going to fall off soon. So I'm afraid that one is a no-no. There's no point in trying to get that to grow roots. It might do, but it's not worth the effort. Which leaves us with this, which has got some roots. It's even got a sign of a new one, which may push on if it can get some moisture around it. But same again, I'm going to get these sheaths off and see what's underneath, because if this one's black as well, I think that one's okay. There's even a sign of a root starting to grow there. So I don't think, it feels hard, there's no sogginess, and it's dry. So I think that one is savable. Okay, but it's not going back in that flipping great big pot, that's for sure. And if that means cutting a root off to get it in a smaller pot, then I will. So yeah, we've lost one. That's sad. But nonetheless, you always take your risk when you buy from somewhere where they've been bought in, if you know what I mean. So what happened between the mass producer, it went to an auction house on a trolley with many others, and then it was sold, and then it was got by hook or by crook into the UK, which could have been in several stages. You know, you never know. I'm not sure the guy that this came from would be dealing direct with the auction houses. He might be, I don't know. But either way, it would have had difficulties, and they were new plants in the UK. So they've travelled when it's cold. So we will see what we can do with that piece and see if we can get that piece to grow. But I'll be back. Okay, I've got a much smaller pot this time to pop this one in, but we're going to have a play with the new toy, which means I'm going to have to turn the extractor fan on, and I may have to abandon this and do it outside. It depends what the fumes are like. But basically I bought a soldering iron so that I can have some additional ventilation holes in some of the pots. And certainly with a Phalaenopsis, you often get like one long root which goes right down into the bottom of the pot, but it's not enough to use the moisture up in the bottom of the pot. And most of the roots are near the top, so the top of the pot gets dry very quickly and the bottom of the pot's still soaking wet, but you have to water it. Yeah? So the idea of getting some more holes in around the bottom is to allow the bottom section to dry at the same speed as the top. And then you can just get on and water it and not muck about. Now I haven't used this before. I don't know how long it takes to get hot. I don't know whether it starts smoking when it's hot, but one sure way of testing whether it's hot is to touch it against some plastic. Yeah, that's getting hot. It's not quite hot enough yet, but although this is going to be noisy, I'm going to turn the extractor fan on so that it sucks the fumes away from me and I don't breathe them in, which is going to make a noise. But basically all I'm doing is making some holes in a pot. So we'll see how this goes. There were choices when I bought them, 20 watt, 30 watt and 60 watt. And I thought, well, a 60 watt's going to get hotter probably and stay hot and not cool down as soon as I touch something. So we went for the powerful one. And that tiny little bit of plastic on the end is now smoking, so I would suggest it's hot enough now. We'll see. I'll put the fan on and we'll have a go. And we'll do it up here so that the fumes go straight out the top. The idea is to just make some holes. I'm only going to make them at the bottom of the pot. Move round a bit, do another couple. I've tried doing this with a screwdriver, but the pots crack. They're so thin and flimsy, a lot of the pots nowadays, they've got no substance to them. So the pot just splinters. But this is working well. And at the moment I can't smell it, so obviously the fumes are going up through the extractor, not up my hooter. They would probably be classed as toxic, quite honestly. So it's better if you don't breathe them in. Obviously doing it outside when there's a little breeze would be ideal. just going round making pairs of holes. It's not necessarily symmetrical and not necessarily artistic. I just want ventilation in the bottom of this pot. Right, that's that done. Turn that off. Turn that off. And sit that over there to... Actually, I better leave the fan on. That's still smoking quite badly. Yeah, that's got it. Right, so we've now got ventilation. I'm just going to move the camera back to where it normally sits. Over there. You're all feeling seasick. Now I've got the choice. What do I pop this in? It's currently in the largest size bark I've got, and I haven't got a lot of roots, have I? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put large bark in the bottom of the pot, and I want this potted lower this time. I want the base of the plant in something, not standing out the top of the pot like it was before. So we'll get the bottom of the pot where there's literally one root down there, but at least now there's some air. And then when we get up to the base, near the base of the plant, where the rest of the roots are, I'm going to stop and have a think. And I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to mix some small bark with some moss and get those roots well hydrated and see if this plant will get going. If I let go, it'll probably fall out of the pot. It's just about going to stay there. Where's my scissors? Now it will stay there. Right, I'll go and get some different media, because although large and chunky is really good for Phalaenopsis when they've got really good root systems, it's brilliant, and the roots will attach to all the pieces of bark and it will feel comfortable. This hasn't got a good root system yet, and it needs moisture around the base to encourage these roots to either grow or branch and grow. So I'll get some more media. Right, I've had to think about this and I'm a bit annoyed. This is not an old plant, it's not like something I believe has gone wrong here, and the Las Vegas came from the same source, same mass producer as the other two store-bought orchids, and the other two are fine, but the other two were bought in a different place, so they would have had a different route, different transport, different everything from the source in the EU, Netherlands probably, I think. So they came via a different route. I know the route that this one came through, and I know the person I bought it from, and I shall have words because I'm not that pleased. Polite version as I'm on camera. But the two plants were both in the same pot, and the first thing I'm going to do with this is give it hydrogen peroxide. As I said, these were repotted while I was doing a talk, so they didn't get the normal attention that I would have done had I done them at home. But as the other plant in the same pot had a stem rot, bad, there's potential for some things lurking on this one. So we'll try and get rid of that for a start. Now I know that's dripped all over my bark, which I will reuse, but as soon as it stops fitting, it's going to be nothing more than water, so we won't worry about that. And I'm going to have to tip that out again so that I can get that long root down in the bottom, and then we'll make a start. I want this in the pot, low in the pot, not like it was before with the only decent roots sticking out the top in the air. That's not going to do the plant any good at all. So all the larger bark's going in first. Don't think it's going to hold it in place somehow. What level are we at now? Somewhere about there, so that most of the roots that I've got are now above the large bark. If new roots grow down into the large bark, by then it'll be okay, but initially that's not going to stand up. I'm going to have to hold it, so we're going to have to work one-handed. Roll on the third hand, and I'm going to do the edge treatment. I've got some small bark, and I'm going to mix in some live moss with the small bark. I'm going to have to let that go. I need another hand. Will it rest on my coffee cup? Just about. Because I need to break this up a bit and make sure it's distributed with the bark. And hopefully it will grow and take over the top of the pot anyway. The reason for using live moss is it has healing properties that the dead stuff probably hasn't got. It has properties in it that help with keeping things sterile, and hopefully if it takes off and it grows, it will keep that moist environment in the top of the pot and help these roots get going. It may or may not work because I haven't done this before, but I'm willing to give everything a try. So what turned out to be what looked like two nice plants has ended up with one on the scrap heap and one in a state of recovery now. I'm afraid this isn't a good plant anymore. It's down to 2 leaves. It has some roots though. I mean, I've seen people that have recovered Phalaenopsis with no roots. So it can be done. It's not the sort of thing I'm used to doing, I must admit. Certainly not with Phalaenopsis. But as this is one of our series plants, I've got to do everything I can to keep the series going. And all the mishaps that happen on the way are part of it. Now, I really don't think you're going to stand up, are you? So what we've got now is relatively loosely packed small bark and moss mix. Yeah, and I'm just going to put a bit more small bark on the top to just hold the moss really. And we've got our air holes in the bottom of the pot around the large bark, so I can still see a root there, so I'm just covering that to make sure I can't see it. If I can't see it, then it's not in the air. And then I think what we're going to have to do is put a stake down either side and just join it across the top. I'm just trying to ease that in. I can't see where the roots are, but we just put one down each side and then put a clip in and hold the plant nice and upright and still. The still is the important bit. Now that clip's not going to do the job. I want a grabby clip, don't I? One like that. So most of my clips are out in the grow room. But I do keep some in the kitchen just for this reason. So that's got it. We'll do a quick tap down, settle everything in around those few roots, and now I'm going to give that a good water and we'll see what happens next. It's still not that stable, but I don't think I'm going to get it any better than that. Let's try moving the clip down a bit. Yeah, that's better. Right, so we've got large bark topped up with small bark and live moss. Now obviously if that top area of the pot gets dry and stays dry, bearing in mind it's indoors, yeah, it's in warm temperatures, if it stays dry for any length of time, the first thing that's going to happen is the moss will die. So I need to take care. And let's just see if we can get some roots going. And then we'll have a pot full of moss, I expect, because that's been broken up. That'll grow in all directions. So that's the best I can do. And because I got told off for dumping the blooms last time, I have actually put them in a glass of water this time to just keep them going for a while so that they're around. Yes, I will class that as disappointing. Quite disappointing. But it's happened. Can't go back and make it unhappen, can you? So we'll see if this one picks up. And is there a sign of a new leaf coming in there? I don't think so. And who knows, that stem rot may have already got inside there and isn't yet visible. This could still collapse, this plant. Who knows? No. Anyway, we will see what we can do. We'll see if we can get this one to grow. That's one less to water, I suppose. You could look on the bright side. one less cluttering up my dining table. But the other store-bought Phalaenopsis are doing okay, but I'm now going to bring them out, and even though the plants are in the pots, by being careful and looking at what I'm doing, I can make those additional holes with the soldering iron to ventilate the base of the pots while the plant is actually in there. There's no need to unpot it. It's just that obviously if there's a root near the edge of the pot, I don't make a hole in that place. And we'll see what we can do from there. Yes, a trifle annoyed, polite version. Still, it happens. I have actually heard of a couple of other people that have had a few problem plants from that guy. It's given the sort of plants he sells, which are all mass produced, bought in and sold on, chances are I won't buy anything from him again. If that's, you know, that's the sort of standard we're getting, we'll deal with other people, other places. You don't get many chances with me. See you next time. Bye for now.